A very warm welcome, art lovers, to the art vlog with me, George Dopamine, from a rather blustery and brooding day down here in Hastings, where I wanted to bring you an exhibition that I'm super excited about. It pairs the Belarusian artist Soutine along with the British artist Leon Kossoff. This show is on all the way until the 24th of September. It's £10 to get in, £9 if you don't give a donation or gift aid. And so I'm really excited. Come and join me as we head inside and explore this exhibition by Soutine and Leon Kossoff. Can't wait to get inside.
Soutine was born into a Jewish family in Belorussia in 1893. He was one of 10 and grew up in a time of increasing anti-Semitism in the Russian Empire. He moved to Paris to pursue his artistic goals, and it was very much an artist, often in despair, often poor. He came across to some people as uncouth and unattractive, and he had a very ambivalent relationship with his own work. And these paintings that you're seeing now are some of the most important in modern art. Painted in Cerét before Soutine became a well-regarded, well-known artist. They're astonishing paintings, twisting, warping the streets and the buildings of Cerét. We imagine it's just an ordinary town, but these paintings totally subvert it, and they were incredibly influential to many artists in the later 20th century. What's really interesting about this first room is that after these astonishing expressionist masterpieces, we see some later works after he'd achieved success when an American collector fell in love with him and bought 50 of his works. He was now financially secure, the colours are brighter, the streetscapes and cityscapes in the south of France are calmer. This is an unbelievable first room to introduce this exhibition. Leon Kossoff was born in London in 1926, and he shared Soutine's Eastern European Jewish heritage. His parents were both Ukrainian refugees who fled the appalling pogroms in the Russian Empire in 1903 to 1906 and settled in London. You can see in the chaos of Kossoff's cityscapes Soutine's influence, and he was very aware of Soutine and influenced by him. But what really struck me actually was key differences, because whereas Soutine's view of Cerét, I think, came from internal chaos, from his own internal situation, Kossoff was more responding to external stimuli, whether they were just demolition sites or the weather as well. And so there is almost like, Kossoff was out there responding to that, whereas Soutine, it was almost like a reflection on his internal state. We see this wonderful painting, Children's Swimming Pool, Autumn Afternoon, on loan from the Tate, which is a masterpiece, but actually not that typical of lots of other Kossoff's landscapes in the exhibition, which you can see here. And you clearly, one thing that's always said about Kossoff is the thickness of the paint. You sometimes wonder how it can stay on the canvas or the board which he's using to paint on. So thick is it. I was more familiar with Soutine's portraits than his crazy townscapes, and so they were less startling to me, but no less brilliant. He is, in my opinion, a master of portraiture as he paints the everyday folk of Paris. Soutine was massively influenced by Rembrandt and attempts to get to the soul of the person in the way that Rembrandt does. Many of his sitters appear awkward as they stare back at you, but this in some ways just adds to the honesty of the portrayal. Often you have to look at the hands as well as the face to find out about the person and where they've come from as well. That's apparently what attracted collectors, the hands. This young woman in a white blouse is a fantastic portrait, which epitomises Soutine's skill. You can see so much about her life from that wry expression. What about this one? A confrontational pastry chef challenges you as she stares back insolently in a fantastic portrait. We're told that Kossoff painted in a very different way to Soutine, and these portraits were a torturous process. You often have to stand back, actually, like you hopefully can see here, to work out what the hell's going on. But the portraits themselves, you know, Kossoff would spend days painting and repainting. This one was painted in a flurry over 15 minutes, having this is his wife, having been sort of painted again and again. He finally believed he got the true representation of this in the portrait. These two seated figures are actually his parents, but for me this was much about them as it was about the experimental process of painting. And so yeah, real marked contrast with Soutine's here in terms of both the process and the outcomes as well. Despite these differences, the show clearly points out certain similarities. First of all, their subject matter, often ordinary people, in Kossoff's case, friends and family. And secondly, their deep love of Rembrandt. And thirdly, the fact that they used paint to get to the truth of a person in really creative, expressive ways. So there is clearly an overlap as well, which the exhibition points out.
Wow, well I really hope you enjoyed that that selection of works there from the Soutine Kossoff show here at Hastings Contemporary. I thoroughly enjoyed that show. I thought it was absolutely wonderful, a really ambitious show, a proper artistic show, if you like, for art lovers and art connoisseurs. The absolute highlight for me was the Soutine landscapes downstairs, these Cerét paintings, which he produced before he was financially secure. They're warped. I mean, look at the houses here. They're sort of bending as if a tornado's ripping through these towns. And these are some of the most brilliant expressionist landscapes I've seen since Van Gogh's wheat fields. I mean, they're that good. They're absolutely amazing. And then downstairs, it's lovely to see the contrast with the calmer works and the sort of brighter, more hopeful use of colour after he'd been saved, if you like, by the American collector. Buying about 50 of his works and sort of establishing his reputation. So I thoroughly enjoyed seeing that. Upstairs, after a few more Kossoffs, including Children's Swimming Pool, which is a really famous work owned by Tate, and a brilliant work as well. You're in the company of old friends in some cases, in the Soutine Portraits and their Kossoff counterparts. Some of the Soutine Portraits I'd seen at the Courtauld, I can't quite remember when that was, before COVID anyway, but they're wonderful works. I mean, at his best, he gets into the heart of the sitter.
I have to say, the curatorial decision to sort of separate Soutine and Kossoff really worked for me. So you have you tend to have a room of Soutine followed by a room of Kossoff, and this pattern's repeated throughout the show. It meant that the works weren't shouting or competing with each other, but you could clearly see the influence of Soutine on Kossoff at certain points in this process. So I really enjoyed that.
So yeah, the portraits are great works, but for me the highlight of everything was the Soutine and Cerét landscapes downstairs, or townscapes I suppose. Wonderful. This show's on until the 24th of September. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think that £10 is really good value. I went round it 3 times with a cup of tea in the middle, overlooking the sea. Don't forget to subscribe to the art vlog, hit that notification bell for reviews and previews of upcoming shows across London, the South East and beyond.